Hello everyone and welcome to what might sound one of the silliest videos around sim racing. Today's video, it's going to be about sim racing clothing or sim racing wear. I know it sounds cringy, it sounds too nerdy, but stick around, it makes more sense than you think. Sometimes in sim racing, equipment can be way over the top. You know what? I'm gonna take it back. A lot of times in sim racing, equipment can be way over the top. You have stuff that is normal like wheels and sim rigs, and then you have the weird tier of stuff which is fans, maybe butt kickers and so on. But in between the weird and what is normal and mundane, there is something what I call the sim racing wear or sim racing clothing. There are many things that can be considered sim racing clothing, but today we're going to talk about the most normal ones, which will be sim racing gloves and sim racing shoes. But instead of looking at very expensive pieces of equipment, let's not do that. This channel has a lot of budget-centric videos. Let's look at non-obvious and somewhat affordable choices that do all of the things and even maybe more. The reason a lot of people use gloves or shoes is most of the times practical. For gloves, it can be the case that the wheels are creating calluses in the hands. It can be more comfortable to wear it, or it could be the case that it's about saving the wheel itself because sometimes it's covered in suede, alcantara, or leather. As for shoes, they also serve a purpose. Like gloves, it could be the case of comfort, grip levels, the fact that some pedals have metal pedal faces that can make the feet feel cold, or the case that moving the pedals can require substantial force, so doing that with socks might hurt the plant of the foot. Oftentimes, sim racers choose very expensive equipment either because it looks the part, because some professional driver wears them or uses them as well, or because they do karting, some racing, club racing, and they have the stuff laying around. But if you are in the case where you want to buy the stuff and you don't want to break the bank, here are some options that I personally use. So I started using gloves for sim racing back in late 2018 when I got the Thrustmaster Ferrari F1 wheel, as the rubber of that wheel is horrible to the touch. My immediate thoughts were getting a pair of gloves from Mechanics, which is a brand that is mostly known as a work glove used in cars or when operating firearms. I have very good experience with this brand as I use these gloves for airsoft or every time I need to mess around in a car, gardening, or even moving houses. As the brand does have fairly inexpensive gloves, sometimes priced close to or even cheaper than bicycle gloves, it was really a no-brainer. Getting a pair of gloves that are long-lasting and can be used for other things other than just sim racing is always great. If you're using gloves for just sim racing, there's no need to get a racing glove, a cycling glove, a cheap karting glove with no fire retardants, or an utility glove or something along those lines would be good. As for Mechanics, I own two pairs of gloves. One of them is this one, which is, most of them are called Fast Fit or so, but this one is an entry level. And you can see that is an entry level and it doesn't have a lot of protection in the hand because, as you can see, there is a couple of holes that appeared after a year or so of use. It can happen a lot, and it does happen a lot having holes in gloves, even from brands that are sim racing oriented. Now, I substituted it for another set of Mechanics, a little more padded. They look warm, but they are not really warm. It's another pair of Fast Fits, but these ones are a little more padded, and you can see they are more padded because it has this leather hat. And I really love also the pattern, and a lot of people ask me what gloves I'm using, so I find this pair of gloves really good. I've been wearing this for over a year now, and I'm not gonna say they look as new, but they still are in very good condition. One great thing about using a work glove is that if you need a pair of gloves for, moving around heavy stuff and you don't want to get your hands chuffed or something, you can just pick up your set of sim racing gloves, which are exactly work gloves, and use them for work. Then if they are dirty, you just wash them and they'll be good as new. I'm a huge proponent of having pieces of equipment that can be used on sim racing and in other circumstances as well. What I've talked about is mainly vanilla stuff. Now it gets weirder, so let's talk about shoes. One of the main issues of using regular shoes in a sim rig is the lack of sensibility due to thicker soles. There are some pedals that can become uncomfortable when using the socks, just like my Fanatec CSL, but can also be too light to operate with the shoe because shoes tend to be heavy. A solution that a lot of drivers go to is to get a pair of karting shoes or thereabouts. My solution is on a cheap side, and it's called a water shoe. A water shoe is basically a type of shoe that can be used in a swimming pool, in the beach, or any place that will be wet. These shoes are really interesting because while they have a sole that allows them to be used over rocks in the beaches, for example, the sole is thin enough that the feet can feel the surface with good detail. The first time I heard about water shoes was in a Fanatec group, and I was as flabbergasted as you are probably right now when you're hearing about this. So I bought it from Amazon. There are a few selections of them. I bought a pair from Amazon and it was really an experience. As a pair of these is about 10 to 20 pounds in Amazon, it was somewhat of a no-brainer to get the pair just to try. There are a few things that you need to look for and pay attention to. The first is the design, where there are essentially three main designs, but I'd say a design that can be useful for sim racing should have a thin sole, a thin removal inner sole just in case you need more sensitivity, and especially you'll need a heel rest. I bought 3 pairs of water shoe, and the first type that I got, or the first pair that I got, is this one that it looks like a slipper or so. And I can tell you, it's the most comfortable slipper that I've ever used, and I've been using this as a slipper and not really as a sim racing shoe. The reason why, it's because of the heel. There's no heel, and it's very easy to get the heel caught in the metal, and it's really not that comfortable. So I got the second type, which is very likely seen a lot of times in my streams, which is this one that looks more like a shoe instead of a slipper. It still looks like a slipper and it looks silly, and there's many designs, but this one is quite nice because of the heel and because it is not that thick, and if you want you can just remove the inner sole and you'll get even more sensibility. Now, one thing that I need to tell you about all of these, no matter what you choose, is size. First of all of these come from China, and the Chinese size guides are really weird. It's better to get a smaller shoe size than a bigger one. If you get the bigger one, you'll get something like I got, a shoe that flaps around too much. So if you get the shoe that is just your size or one size below, you should be okay, because these more or less stretch. And I can tell you, these are very comfortable shoes, and they are very light shoes. They wear, it's like wearing nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
In my opinion, while this video sounds really silly, there's really space for this type of equipment in your sim rig. In my case, I just want to save the Alcantara from my wheels, because Alcantara, I'm gonna tell you a secret, it's the worst type of product to put on the wheel. It's fake sweat, and in China it's used like entry-level stuff because it's worth nothing. So Alcantara gets destroyed very easily. Sweat also gets destroyed very easily, even if you use it with gloves. But if you use it without gloves, it gets wrecked within a week of use. As for shoes, there's a lot of reasons why people don't like it, and I get it. And in most cases, especially if you're using stuff like a G29 or something like that, it might not be really useful to use a shoe, because even though it's very light, it will add extra weight. But if you're going to something like a Fanatec CSL or a V3 or Oxenval pair of pedals, it's not good to use only your socks. And if you're going to use regular shoes, you are either getting a shoe that is too heavy, you're going to lose the sensibility, or if you're going to buy karting shoes, you're going to spend 3, 4, 5 times more than a pair like this that will basically last you forever and has the added ability. If you want to go to the beach, you can take these. You can't take your karting shoes. That's basically it, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm terribly sorry, but I hope it was informative. If you enjoyed the video, press like and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell so you'll see new videos and streams as they come out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.